Okay, welcome to Friday Night Live with Stampscapes here. We're going to do some stamp sketching with the new Nature Sheet number 33, which is the Desert Set number 3. And it has all of these different types of background and foreground types of imagery. This is an enlargement right here. The actual size is more like a 6x9 plate, so everything's a little bit smaller than this. This came back from my engraver. I don't know. They print out something large. I don't know, maybe to just check for details or something like that, and to just make sure that they know what they're getting into, I guess, in terms of the different types of imagery and I'm guessing the density of certain things and the detail that they have to retain in the actual plate, which is right here. I just showed this in my impression testing video. But let's get to some stamping here. Always a fun thing to get a new plate in and to see what the imagery is going to look like. Am I a little bit out of focus here? I can't tell. It looks okay. Okay, so this latest plate, I mean, you can use them just on their own, but I really see them being used in conjunction with the other imagery, the other desert imagery, or just as pieces for really just about any type of scenic scenario here. I was mentioning in my impression video that you can use, these distant kind of, sandstone buttes as things like, you can use them to represent, I don't know, whatever volcanic types of formations, like in a tropical setting. So it's not, they're not limited to a desert type of scenario. Hello, Linda. Phyllis, good to see you. All right, now I was mentioning in my impression video, it's my preference to kind of utilize a kind of a medium inked up pad for imagery that have a lot of detail in them, like this current set does have. So I might have to re-ink somewhere along in this video here. Okay, so this kind of this natural bridge here I see being utilized lower right hand corner for the most part. Okay, so that you have this edge here going here. I should show you right here. Definitely this bottom portion right here going off the page like that, and this part going off the page to the right. Okay, but that, yeah, maybe I'll try it in this stamp sketching video right here, but I really want to get to all of these different images in here. But this, I can see this being used, like this is in a water type of setting, so this little, I don't know, whatever, the bridge going out to, and with this natural arch going out into a water type of situation. I see it more as like ocean, but it could be like a lake or some, just any kind of body of water. Hello, Barrett, Jeannie, and Bonnie. Good to see you. Hope all is well. Okay, let's see here. Let's use some backgrounds in here. Okay, let's see. I haven't like stacked my desert buttes yet. Is my camera a little bit? There we go. Hope everyone's well and you're not anywhere with like extremes of weather. Some people are getting extremes and some people are getting like really super mild conditions in certain areas. Okay, now I wiped off the bottom of this a little bit, okay, so that would kind of transition into this area down here. I'm just seeing kind of what this would look like in this scenario where there's this like flat ground out here, like this, this little ledge overlooking this big valley or something like that. I would use more kind of texturing down here, but let's see what these look like when kind of, I wouldn't say stacked, but layered. Okay, I'm going to put this one over here, so it's going to go into that, so I'm going to blot off the bottom of this a little bit, and over here. And then I'll mask off this slightly, maybe. Let's go about like this. By the way, this stamp sketch right here is being done on glossy cardstock, and the ink I'm using is a dye-based ink. We'll play around with some different surfaces too if we have some time. Okay, I'll go with this other one back here. Now I could use this, you can use this, you can stack this, but in a much lighter version or something like that, so it'd be behind, you know, this one right here, so you can stack it, or you can just use like this portion right here, like over here, and I don't know, if someone's thinking about it and like looking for something specific, you know, it'd be obvious that it's the same one, but you know, I think it'd be varied enough to where, you know, this kind of generic range isn't going to look too repetitive. Okay, let's blot this off once right here, and then let's kind of vary or transition the bottom portion of this one right here. Actually, it'd be more on this side right here. And we'll get this in the distance, hopefully. It looks more distant because it's lighter. Like that. Okay. And let's see here. I thought this character right here. I didn't grab a bunch of imagery. I just going with something that was on my desk anyway. There's a bunch of different characters or animals and things like that that I really want to see used on this piece right here. This one would be really good if this was like a slimline card, and you put this right over here, and then you extend this area out this way, I think. Well, let's see something here. Let's go for a little bit more. Oh, I can use some different patterning down in the background right in here. Actually, I'm not going to do that right now. I want to get through more tests of these new designs right here. I'll fill in and I'll finish some of these out later on. This would be really cool to do a little horizon line back in here and put like a moon or something like that right in here coming through with some moonlight in this area in here. This can look like interesting too, is if you did like a Lake Powell type of thing. And this whole area in here is just like a body of water. That might be interesting too, for right in here. I can separate this up to a little bit like this over here, and we can have this, this passageway, this winding kind of canyon coming through here, and opens up into this lake down here. Actually, I might do that on this one. I might turn this into like a big, body of water. Okay, so anyways, so stacked kind of backgrounds, buttes like that. And, minimal masking on there, just kind of wipe off some of your ink where it's going to be overlapping into the imagery that's representing the foreground, or just closer to us like that. Okay? You can put like someone fishing off of this. Okay, let's see here. All right, so let me check out some of these rolling dunes here, these layered sand dunes. I'm gonna have to go with my big block for this one. This one, if you have a block for your like your Seaside Cove Small, what are some of those other ones? The Snowy Bank, is it? That longer one? This one's the exact same size as that, so I matched this one up with a couple of those other longer Stampscapes designs. I didn't make it longer than it, in other words. Hello, Ramona. Hello, Cynthia and Caroline. Good to see you all. Thanks for jumping on. Okay, now these rolling sand dunes here, one of the things that would be cool to do is doing them in different tones too. Okay, for this purpose of this stamp sketching video, I'm not going to bother doing like that, or too much at least. But I'm envisioning this like in a, I don't know, like a deep brown or something like that, or you can do your background on here with some different tones as a base layer, and then you can stamp your sand dunes over it in varying values, okay, of similar colors. So if I did this in a dark brown or something like that, I'd put like a tan color in the background or something like I always mention it because, those distress inks, especially the early ones, there's a lot of brown tones. There's like old paper and I don't know, antique linen, those types of papers, walnut stain or something like that they call it. But that would be really nice tones, nice warm tones for these dunes in here, okay? But that was the larger one. Then I'm going to just layer. I tell you what, I'm gonna let me get a few more of these on. I don't see these sand dunes being like something that you would use, or that you would have to use separately from other types of things. I see it as like foreground in here, and I'd have these buttes kind of rising up from the distance, or I'd have cacti interspersed in between layers of dunes. So it'd be like dunes, and then sometimes in the recessed areas in between the dunes, there's like these areas where there's like growth in between these types of things. It's not all like the Sahara or something like that, where it's just like a dune sea and there's nothing out there. Oftentimes where I see these dunes like this, it's not like a gigantic system. So there's, a few dunes around or something like that, surrounded by, other types of desert terrain, a lot of flora, different types of flora. Okay, now this is going to be over the top of this one, or behind it. Well, over and behind it. So I'm going to wipe off some of this bottom, and then I'm going about halfway up and taking off some of that ink. And we'll just kind of do this right here. I need to take off more. I have more ink on my pad, I think, than I thought. Okay, let's see here. Sometimes you dab off like this, and it's like, you think you took off enough, but, well, you could have taken off a lot more. Okay, so let's see here. Let me just merge. I'm going to merge that last impression with this one right here a little bit. And then let's go for some of those smaller ones in the distance. Okay. So right here, this is what I usually do. I usually have like some kind of mist or something like that. In this case, it would represent like wind on the dunes or something like that if I used my white pigment ink in between here. But that's why I was trying to transition this. I should have dabbed off here a little bit lighter, but I would just fill that in with some extra color. So I'll finish off a lot of these, that being said, in future videos. Hello, Julie, buddy, good to see you. Cheryl, buddy. Good to see you all. Thanks for joining in here. Hello in, Northeast Ohio. I miss doing the shows out in Ohio. So we used to do, Stamp Away in Cincinnati, and then in what month was that? Was it May? I'm trying to remember when. Oh my God, my mind's a blank right now. Akron, when we used to do the Akron show. Okay, so here's some more. Okay, I think I took off more ink this time. That's still a little bit. I wanted that to kind of transition off to almost like nothing down here, so it goes from dark to light down there. Let's just go with that for right now. The Dune Sea. You can have these like hikers or something like that on these dunes like that. That'll be fun. Okay, let me do the back. Oh, this fits on this block right here. Huh. Hello, Verna. April. Thank you. One time in coming back from the show, so we would do the Akron show. Actually, let me get one more impression of this one. We would do the show. We would fly out. This is what we started doing because one of my friends that helped out at the show, he was a high school teacher, so you can't not officially supposed to be taking time off from his school, but he would help out because his wife worked for me. But so to miss like the least amount of time from school, we would take the red eye out of Los Angeles on Thursday night. It would take off later on, like midnight or something like that. And then we would arrive, because of the 3-hour time difference, we'd arrive like in Cleveland. Probably, I don't know, there's probably a plane change somewhere along the line, but we would arrive like at 6 a.m. or something like that, and we'd probably go eat or something like that. And I think we were allowed to set up the show starting around 10 a.m. or something like that. 9 or 10 a.m. So that, for us would be 6 to 7 a.m., Pacific Standard Time, right? Cleveland's on Eastern Standard, right? Not Central. I don't know, whatever it was. But so we'd set up the show, and that always takes a few hours, and then we would go and probably check into the hotel, and then go eat dinner, go back to the hotel, and we probably didn't want to go to sleep too early, although we needed to. Or maybe we did. I don't know. And then you do the show on Saturday and Sunday. But on Sundays we would take down the booth and get it all wrapped up and ready to ship back, and then we would hop in the plane and really try to get over to back up to Cleveland to get the flight out of Cleveland. There's usually 1 or 2 flights available for us. I think one time we flew into Akron though instead of Cleveland. But it made for a pretty intense weekend. Okay, so these are some dune seas leading up to that, and I would probably do some other. I'm going to leave some space up here, like for a moon or something like that. Yeah, you can have like a big moon rising up from the background like there. You can leave room for a quote stamp or something like that. I would probably have. It'd be interesting. You can do like a Lawrence of Arabia type of thing if you have some kind of figure, kind of like going out into the dunes sea or coming back. But right in here, let's say if this is a nighttime type of scene, or this would be perfect for a sunset type of thing too, coming across. But I would do these dunes in some sort of tones, probably going from darker to lighter on top of each one of these. So I'd transition them a little bit, and that might look kind of interesting. All right, so textures like that. Taking a look at those. Let's use some of these. Let's check them out in conjunction with some of our other existing flora here too. Yeah, okay, thank you. Eastern. One of the times, man, so I don't drive in snow very, like hardly ever. And one time it snowed, on our way to the airport, and that was sure hair hair raising for me. I was like white knuckling it on the steering wheel, and I was glad because I made it back with no problem. There were a lot of people that had driven off the road into the center meridian in between, what is that, north and southbound traffic on whatever that main whatever highway or freeway or whatever going back up to Cleveland was. But yeah, that was another one of those very memorable moments in stamp convention, I don't know, whatever history. All right, let's see here. Let's go with half page here, and let's see what some of these things look like here. All right, so let's just get kind of a foundation going. I'll go with some of these other two desert sets here. I want to incorporate this flora in with the backgrounds, so organ pipe or Joshua trees or something like that, ocotillo. So just nice having the kind of the option here for the system here. No, it took me a long time to come up with this imagery. I've been wanting to do it for like, I don't know, like 20 years. 30 maybe. All right. You think I would have come up with something sooner because, I don't know, the desert imagery is really close to my heart in terms of a lot of camping. I've camped out a lot in like pine foresty types of things too, what you do. You don't go camping out in the desert like, in the middle of like summer, or I don't know, for the entire summer months. So I used to go, we'd do more like high elevation types of adventuring. But my favorite was always the deserts. I love the imagery out there, but I also like it for the fact that if you're camping, you're not getting attacked by mosquitoes all the time. Like you do in kind of more areas with more water around. Okay, yeah. Some of these here, I'll just go like this. I'll go angled on this one like this. Block. Julie, how many years have you been going to the Akron show? Okay, adding in some rocks. Here, let's go with these ones down here. It took me a while to do that show. There were so many conventions around the country, and Bill Peddle had asked me early on, but I was already doing the Cincinnati show out there, kind of off and on. And then I eventually got to that Akron show, but the Akron show, boy, that was a really well run, well attended vendor. You know what I mean? That was a really good show, and a great crowd, of course. But I don't know, maybe for us, I don't know. That was like a that's one of those shows that I really miss doing. I hated working with those convention facility personnel. I think everyone did. It was kind of a big hassle. You'd ship out your stuff there ahead of time to the location, and they would have it there, in that convention facility. Here's a little behind the behind the scenes type of stuff here. And these guys, like, I don't know, they like had nothing better to do or something like that. So it's like, okay, we can start setting up, like, for example, at 9 o'clock or something like that. Okay. But if you get there like 5 minutes early or whatever, 10 minutes early, you're not allowed to touch your items until that time. I think I was just, wanted to look. I'm not someone to rock the boat either or something like that. I think that I needed something to confirm something. I don't know. Maybe our shipping company was dropping off there or something like that. But I don't know. I guess someone was like a stickler for time or something like that. But it was kind of a hassle, and there was just various things like that that happened. I think a couple different times with these dudes. Okay, let's see. $20 or so. Yeah. Oh yeah, the make and takes. I love doing the make and takes. So typically at shows, so Julie saw us over at the shows. But what we would have is, I mean, sometimes I'd be doing like a make and take, and then my coworker would be doing a make and take. Sometimes I would be demonstrating, and she would be doing a make and take. So it just depended, what show. But we'd be doing different types of make and takes. I think kind of towards the end when I was going there. That's the Ocotillo, by the way. I think we were doing a lot of stamp board things, and I think we might have been brayering on stamp board. But yeah, always fun stuff. I really loved doing that. I don't know. I always thought the make and takes were always like I always thought it brought really good energy into a show and it made it fun for people to do it. Yeah. Not to throw like a gripe in with every comment about a different show, but if there was space, now there wasn't room at certain shows like Akron. It was like packed in there, full of vendors. Okay, so there were, and there were things like fire regulations. You couldn't have like booths. You had to have a certain amount of aisle space, for fire regulations. Okay, so not that show, but speaking of make and takes, like some shows, there it might not be a full building or something like that. So they might have like half of the room just kind of blocked off because there wasn't enough vendors for the amount of space. But on those ones, I really wish that, speaking of make and takes, they would give us more space and not say, oh, you're over by like 1 inch or something like that, where someone's sitting down or something like that. Or sometimes, at these shows, to watch a demo, someone might bring over a chair from, the refreshments area or something like that. Now they might be blocking out. But I'm talking about the shows where there was a huge amount of open area. But I thought the coordinator should have given us a little bit more space, because that's what the customers like doing. They want to go to them and show and have a great time. But sometimes they'd be saying, oh, you need to move in like 2 inches or something like that. Where people start to collect around the make and take. So it's like some inner behind the scenes types of things, convention details there. And again, not at Akron though. There was never space. That place was always packed in that convention hall. Oh, on that convention hall too, there was an upstairs and a downstairs, right? And what was it? The downstairs area is where you enter in and you go up these elevators into the hall, I think, right? Has everyone gone to a convention before here that's watching? I don't know, maybe you haven't. But at rubber stamp conventions, just like in workshops or people shopping at at stamp stores and everything like that too. It's not a secret that like 99% of the clientele are women, right? So on the top floor of this convention hall in Akron, they made that both bathrooms, which they should do. They made it just both women, bathrooms for women only. You know what I mean? So I think I had to go like, I don't know. I think maybe to go downstairs and clear across to the floor of the bottom floor convention center. It was probably, I don't know. I think it was like the length of probably like 3 football fields that I had to you know, whatever, run down there. So you get all the behind the scenes types of fun things when you watch when you tune into the the Stampscapes channel here. Those aren't the only memories, okay? But those are some of the more interesting ones that stick out to me sometimes when I think about those shows. It's the unusual stuff, that tends to come to mind with certain venues. All right, let's see what this butte looks like behind some Joshua trees here. Looks like I'm stamping out like a hat or something like that. Yeah, let's go about like so. This one's going to be kind of obscure, I think. Okay. No, that's a little bit too symmetrical. Let's go for one of those other ones. Let's go for this range right here. I wasn't a well, when did you live there, Candy? Where did you live in Ohio, Candy? Hello, Jeannie. I still have the Lighthouse stamp board. Oh, yeah, you made a stamp. That awesome. Those I really enjoyed. We really enjoyed doing the those stamp board make and takes. Those were really fun. It was kind of fun when you can go, you can take something back that was like, you know what I mean? It's different. It's like real 3-dimensional. And it was just kind of fun too because on the stamp boards, we had people do, you can scratch back into it and add in those reverse types of marks. So that was a real different type of experience from a lot of different types of, stamping. Whatever techniques that you might be doing. So, and I liked it too. I mean, to me, it was like, it's like doing scratchboard or something like that. But that stamp board, now called Clayboard Art Tiles, I mean, it's a true art surface medium and technique, skill set or something like that. But, in stamping, we're not typically doing, reverse types of marks into anything, you know. I mean, there's very few types of techniques traditionally in you know, stamp art where you would be doing adding something and being able to remove it off of the surface, unless someone's doing like a bleaching technique or something like that. I haven't seen people do like bleaching types of techniques in a long time. All right, so let's see. This is the types of things that I wanted in my backgrounds here. So I'm going to create kind of like a little horizon back here or something like this, and this kind of lead-in scenario. But see, like this right here. I mean, you could. I mean, one of the things about these buttes is I can have this, like this, real kind of centralized, like it's a, and that would be like the destination type of thing, especially if you have someone walking through here like that. But those are the types of things that I wanted to see or wanted to be able to do in my scenes that I've been stamping out so far. So that, you know, in some of them, I thought, we need like a couple other things, or, oh, it'd be really perfect if I had, you know, some kind of desert butte or something like that. So I wasn't going to do that originally, but I thought, because I was thinking, okay, people can just use their other mountains, which you can, you know, but in doing these, I thought, something a little bit more specific, you know, might be better. Okay, so adding in some extra flora down here with this fill in, about like so. That's that little bush rock cluster there. Let's go for some smaller things out here in the distance. I'm still kind of a little bit adjusting to my usage of these desert types of imagery. I've mentioned this in the past, but I've usually not liked to condense, like have so many different images all together, but I find that they don't have a problem of merging. Merging without cluttering. You know, I'm talking about like, you know, I mean, none of the stamps do, but you use them a little bit more sparingly in terms of the repetition of them, maybe, or in conjunction with other images. But I'm finding that, see, if I do this little, I mean, this is like a bush here, and it's this big and it's this wide, but it's real spindly in the center. So you don't have like a big pine tree, you know, like covering something up completely, because things are a little bit more like sparse at the top, you know, where it's traditional trees. Like a maple tree, it's going to be like a solid thing up here with a spindly bottom, but these ones have this, you know, a real short kind of, you know, area. And then even up top, it has like these windows or openings in them where you can see the things in the background. So, you know, I'm still thinking sometimes in a certain way in terms of usage. So, wait till I learn how to use these. All right, let's see. Let me add in a little bit of texturing on this one right here. A little bit more texturing. Now remember, this isn't just going to be white in here, it's going to be colored in, so I am leaving some areas in here for just my tone, you know, to be added in here. And see this little isolated, you know, in this case, ocotillo right here. I mean, it could be any flora, but you can, if you add a little bit of tone around it like that, it kind of grounds it. I mean, that's, you know, that's a living type of thing, but you can even do it around rocks like it is, and it seems set into the scene a little bit more. You can even do it at the base of kind of real distant things like these buttes in here. You can add in some texturing down there if you want to. This one's getting very light up here in the distance, so if you did it, I wouldn't do it with a heavy application of this, but you can use this as kind of like a toning device just to anchor your scenes or objects down. Like that. Let's see. I keep using this just because this one's out right now. This is a couple with this dog right here. Going out there like that. And maybe I'll add more ranges up here or something like this. Usually when I position like some kind of like sky figure, or this would be good with some clouds too back here. But I'll leave that for another time. So if I'm doing this as like a sunset type of scene or something like that, then I would typically stamp out my sky figure in a color out of my color scheme. So if it's moon, it's going to be like this bluish tinge in here or something like that. Then I would stamp my sky figure in that color. That's why I'm not doing it right now. I mean, you could do it all in black and white, make it a grayscale piece, but if you're going to add color, you know, I tend to do my my sky figure, like the sky is the thing that's, you know, the usually the light source of a piece, so it's a moon, it's lightning or anything like that. So if it's casting that light in there, I would typically make it a color of the, you know, out of that color scheme and not like black. You can do it for black and it makes it look for, it gives it kind of a dramatic look. Or if I'm doing it grayscale for sure, certain. But I usually like to keep my sky figures, if they're a light source especially, in the theme of the color scheme of the entire piece right there. So anyways, so a little bit more of a dramatic backdrop in the background right there. You know, I was talking about this too. See, you can make this like the edge right here. Like there's a little bit of an overlook, like you're at the Grand Canyon or something like this. And this could be overlooking, you know, these craggy types of formations in here. And this could be like a body of water down here too. Now that I look at it, or, I mean, you don't see it too much in the desert, like all this mist or something like that. But I mean, you could make it a little bit more kind of whimsical or something like that and add that element of moisture into this area down here and just kind of make this like a foggy, you know, type of area down there. Maybe it's, you know, in the winter time, you know, or something like that. But you can make this like an overlook right here, and this could be all just like mist down here. It'd be really dramatic if you put like a full moon up here and this like whole area in here is covered in cloud, kind of creeping its way through all these kind of like larger buttes like this. And you know, this couple of, you know, and dog are going out there to check it out. Okay, so let's see. Let's try some. Let's do a vertical piece right here. Going vertical. Let's try out some of the saguaros here. Oh, it almost fits. Go with this block right here. Here's one of the things about my the latest imagery is that some of it, you know, this is my length. I might have another block that's this size, like, you know, or half this size like this, but it's, you know, I'm kind of using like some blocks with a lot of excess area on it. Okay, so I'm doing the like the foreground stuff first and adding my background later. I mean, if you know, you can add, like a lot of this imagery is kind of more strong, like darker silhouettes like that. You could do the background first and just stamp your foreground imagery over the top of it if you want to. Even in these saguaros, I have a little bit of kind of detailing in there. Open area where it's not just straight silhouette. But it's strong enough to where you can just stamp it right over anything in the background without it showing through it, okay? Yeah, let's go with the other one here. This block for this one is like really overkill. Yeah, yeah, that show was upstairs there. Let me see, that show. That show, okay, so at the Cleveland show, hello, Bill. That Cleveland show was sometimes, I think one time, I think I taught classes out there. It might have been two, but on Friday nights, I think. And that's when we would go out there, probably on a Thursday or something like that. When I would teach on those Fridays. But that's a convention center where they used to offer workshops for anyone that wanted to take them on like Friday. I think Friday was during the daytime, during the setup, and it went into evening a lot of times. Sometimes a lot of people, like if they were in a workshop, sometimes people would just they would buy their stamps like in the workshop or something like that. Like if they were using a stamp or something like that that they wanted, and the people that I was out there working with, they'd run over to the booth to grab it. I think a lot of times though, that might have been when I was shipping everything ahead of me directly to the center. But then I started teaming up with Judykins and Stamp of the Hand, and we started shipping all of our stuff together, consolidated by this one shipping company, and they would deliver it right to the convention center. So I didn't have room in these rolling metal shipping cages that I think Judykins got a hold of or something like that. So I didn't have room for all of my workshop things, so I stopped teaching workshops there. But that was always fun to do too. The workshops in conjunction, yet then from the in booth make and takes. All right, saguaro. They look like columns or something like that. I just thought about that. You can do like this like structuring or something like that, like columns or something like that. It's like a perfect visual lead-in for I don't know, whatever you have going on here. Let's do this type of thing. Let's do this dead center like that. I usually don't do that. I'm usually kind of doing more of a rule of thirds type of thing, but this one's so kind of, I don't know, I got pun intended or not, monumental, like this. It's kind of pyramidal in shape too, except with that flat top. Okay, let's go. Let's go. The higher you go up like this, the more it represents something farther off in the distance. Maybe I'll put this, I will go center like this, but I will do it more kind of a rule of thirds type of thing. Okay, now I'm going to be going into some of these cacti to left and right, so I'm going to wipe off a lot of that ink where it's going to overlap probably into those. I'll put it right into some of them, but maybe right at the tail end I'll kind of have it fade off a little bit more like that. Okay, let's go with something like that. I need to do these transitioning areas in here too, but I'm gonna, I usually do that with like tone if it's somewhere like way off in the distance. There could be some dunes. I can use the dunes in there now too if that's like too big of a space in here. But let me see here. Let's try this one right here. The Lady Rider. I have this going off slightly off the bottom of the page, just for scale purposes. But see, I want that her to be like looking up there like that. All right. Let me do something. I'm going to add. Let's go ahead and add this in here. I'm going to do this. I'll finish this one off in grayscale. Okay, so speaking of my sky imagery and color, I'm just going to do this one in black, but I'll do it more in like a grayish tinge or something like that. Did I say hello to Debbie? Debbie Sharon, good to see you. Linda's working on a large scene on glossy and finding everything looks too much like one color, huh? When I work on my large pieces, when I think about it, I think a lot of mine do have like a similar color where I think I have felt the need for maybe if it's not a different color, but maybe like a stronger intensity in certain areas. Like some of them, my larger pieces, I've gone back into pieces that sometimes I thought I finished years ago, but with the the acrylic paint pens these days, I've gone back into them and kind of finish them off a little bit more completely in terms of that intensity range. Okay, so I blotted off my cloud here. I'm going to put this one back here. And then if you notice, I wiped off the top too. But let's add some clouds in the background, just in grayscale like that. Okay. So you see like that. I got all this interference with all this texture on the back right here. Okay, now, if you're going for a second impression, if it's going to be over here, be sure and re-ink, because where this ran off the paper, if I took this same stamp over here and stamped it over here, there's going to be this real definitive line where you stamped off part of it, and part of it didn't stamp out. So always re-ink like that. Unless you're just stamping out the whole stamp, and then you want to go for a lighter impression, you want to come up here, that's fine. Like if it's on a, but if you only have half of it on the paper, then remember to re-ink like that. Okay. Now I'm not masking this off here because I already kind of blotted off a lot of that ink off of the cloud that would be overlapping my mountain, okay? And then not only that, but I stamped some of it off too, so it's not going to leave this kind of harsh line, where it went in, like that much of it is overlapping that. But see, if you just kind of blot it off like that, it's not going to be a problem. So speaking of that, let's do one more impression here on this one. So it's not, on these stamp sketches with these new images, I not only want to see how they look, with their sibling designs, or designs within the desert system, but I want to see them how they look with you know, sky figures and all that type of thing. Okay, now this one I'm wiping off quite a bit here because I'm going to put it up here. All right, now this one let's see. Let's go like that. Okay, now I'm overlapping a lot of this image right here, so let's do it. This is like the extent of my masking here. You know, that's really going to be needed. You know, just go like, just go like that right there, and that should be adequate. I'm going to have those billows kind of within that area, so I'm going to go like this, you know, where it's not going off the page. You know, I'm going to have that right there. And then this area in here will get filled in with a little bit of grayscale. And I think down here in this area down here, I might add in, you know, it'd be perfect for that is this stamp right here. I think this texturing. Let me try that right now. This is the rocky shore, and I just want a really light impression of it, though. This is a major hassle with this one block right here. Look at my glitter on there, but I accidentally ripped this thing off of here because it was stuck to, so I'm always looking for two pieces. I can probably find some thing to replace that, you know, a piece of mylar or something, but I don't know. I haven't gotten around to that. All right, let's see like this. Okay, I took off a lot of that ink, but I do have a lot of ink on my pad apparently, so I'm gonna go in here and just kind of smudge off some of this, and hopefully this is like large enough to where this is gonna fill in. Oh, that's gonna fill in way, this image is way too big. Let's see. Sometimes instead of masking, I just want that really super light impression if it does stamp out. Like that. Okay, so I have her going up like that, so I just need to make sure that... Okay, I think I need to remove off more. You especially don't want it around kind of your focal points, you know, subject matter types of things. Maybe it's just the top of it that we want in here. Okay. Like that. So we have a little bit of that texture like that. And I don't need to really do this because the edges get darker anyways with that vignette that I throw in around there, but oh, there's no ink on there anyway. So anyways, you see that like that? So a little bit of texturing in here, and remember it's going to get filled in with a lot of tone in here too, so tone and light. Like that. So we were just talking about stamp board and those demonstrations that we were doing at the convention there in Cleveland. And it, you know, when I look at this, if this was done on stamp board or clayboard art tiles, clayboard smooth, whatever you want to call it, you know, different sizes, I would come in here and I would take my fiber brush and I would remove some of that ink off the top of the clouds after I added some tone in here to make them look really, whatever, luminous, I guess. All right. All right, I need to do something right here now that I look at this. I'll show you what I'm going to do the sky right in here. Now that I look at this final, you know, kind of, or close to final composition right here. Okay, now I've wiped off a lot of this top part of this cloud. If you have this cloud stamp right here in unmounted or cling foam mounted, I would recommend, if you don't use it all the time, on the back of the cloud, have an arrow pointed up in the direction of these illuminated billows like this. Okay, so these are all kind of facing up like this right now, right? But see this right here, this area right in here, or right here, actually, maybe that would be better. I'm going to have, yeah, I'm going to have some light coming across like this in here. Oops. Don't drop your stamp. And then I'm going to have this pointing towards my light like that, okay? Like this, and then, okay, I'm going to go for a larger impression, but it's because I use this part, and then I'm going right here, and I'm not stamping out this portion out here, okay? I'm going like this, and I'm going like this. I'm using a smaller portion of it here, so it's going from here to here, okay? And it's also getting closer to the light too, so it'll stamp out lighter. And then see, this is darker like that. But see, that, I mean, it already looks like there's light coming across there, streaking in here. So wouldn't that be a perfect kind of lighting? I might even add in some light beams kind of going across my saguaros right here. Something like that. And we'll have this left side of the butte illuminated like that. All right, so those are the types of things that... you know, I start itching to do, you know, on these, to finish off these pieces like this. It's a lot of the sky things. The sky things get me excited about finishing off scenes. All right, let's try something on some of the pre-printed papers, okay? So this is the wood grain paper. It's a disposable placemat wood grain paper, so they're like super inexpensive. They're flimsy, but you know, we usually mount our cards on, you know, firmer cardstock anyway, so who cares how thin these pieces are. I mean, it's not as nice to work on, you know, a nice thick piece of cardstock's nicer to work on for sure, just from a tactile standpoint, but you know, there's something to be said for like inexpensive, really cool supplies too. Okay, so I'm going to do this one in the hybrid ink. Okay, I like the hybrid ink on the pre-printed types of papers. Many stamping conventions in Albuquerque as a customer. Now I'm in West Texas. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Albuquerque show, was that rubber stamp event, Sharon, or was that that was not Heirloom, was it? I think it was rubber stamp events, right? Was she the one? I think she was the one that put on both the Mesa and Albuquerque show, unless there were two shows in Albuquerque through the years, I'm not sure. I never went to the Albuquerque show. I mean, it was barely doing the Arizona shows either. I think it went like... So convention coordinators, if they were kind of working with each other a little bit, you know, kind of unwritten rule type of thing, that you didn't schedule, you know, a convention on the same weekend as another convention was going on, especially if it was in like a certain geographic region. If one's going on in Los Angeles and another one's going on in Pennsylvania on the same weekend, you know, no big deal. But a lot of the, you know, the vendors would do, you know, they would travel around nationally too, or I don't know, some places even had two booth setups. But the way that that Albuquerque one worked, I think it was a week after the Mesa, Arizona show, and then the week or a week before, I couldn't remember, and then after that, whatever the order those shows were in, would be the Carson convention, stamp convention. Okay, let's change the scale of this one right here. I'm going to put these Joshua trees like down here, so it's just this little eroded butte. Maybe it's on the edge of a, I don't know, whatever, a wash or something like that. Maybe I'll put like a, instead of like a person, like a, you know, we'll put like a rabbit on it. have this wood grain paper with anything scenic. It doesn't seem to matter, but I really like it with the looks of it, with the these desert types of images too. It's just really fun. So the Texas show that we used to do was the Grapevine show. And I think there used to be at least, there were two shows there, I think, per year, and that was put on by Heirloom Productions. And I didn't do that Grapevine show for many years, but I don't know. We added it into the circuit at some point in time. For some reason, I had really bad luck with that Grapevine show. With my car rental, one time someone ran into my car in the parking lot of the convention center there. And another time, it was my fault. I went to I don't know. We were eating at I think it was the California Pizza Kitchen somewhere. Okay, that's not supposed to be right on top of that little whatever natural bridge or something like that. That's behind it. But luckily, I don't know. Is there like insurance included in like your credit cards these days? Like, I don't know, what was it, like a gold card perk or something like that? Oh, so Columbus. Okay, so Candy was born in Columbus. That's where we used to fly in a lot of times for the Cincinnati show, believe it or not. It was so crazy, you know. So a lot of times, like the flights were a lot cheaper to fly into Columbus than Cincinnati, the Cincinnati airport. So we'd go over to Columbus and drive back. Sometimes it was so nuts. Sometimes you go, so it was cheaper to fly into Columbus than Cincinnati, but Cincinnati was like the connecting airport, you know, which I can understand because maybe, you know, they don't have time to, you know, get into the luggage compartment and empty it out and stuff like that or whatever. But one time, our connecting flight in Cincinnati going over to Columbus got canceled, and we could not get our bags out at Cincinnati for the Cincinnati show. And I don't know what happened. We got stuck in Cincinnati. I don't know, maybe we talked them into it or something. I can't remember. I remember all these flight types of issues because all of these types of things added up to me not traveling as much anymore because I got so tired of all these connecting flight issues. Or like in that Akron show one time, our flight out of Akron got canceled due to some kind of mechanical issues on the plane. So they put us up overnight in Akron, and then that airline, United, had to hire like a car service the next day to drive us up to Cleveland, you know, to get a new flight because there wasn't a new flight out of Akron or something like that anymore. I was flight plagued. I had all kinds of problems with connecting flights and flight cancellations. One time it was like we were 7 in a row, and it wasn't just like slight delays. It was like completely canceled flights, and one of them was going out to the Akron show, and they put us up overnight in Las Vegas. And by the time we got to the Akron show, we only had like 1 or 2 hours to set up. So we were setting up our booth, which normally took like 3 or 4 hours to do. Like we were setting up in the middle of the show, with people already walking in and stuff. It was pretty crazy. Bill, how do you know that song, Bill? If you didn't get did everyone get the reference there with Bill? There's this singer with this song with the those those lyrics. Okay, so adding this in. So this is kind of making like a little bit of a little ecosystem right here. And I'm kind of creating this whole kind of little thing around here, and I'm kind of leaving this open because I'm going to put something like right here on that. Like this, I don't know. This little rabbit right here would be fun. I don't know what it would be doing up there, but here's a road runner. Oh, this desert tortoise. I mean, he wouldn't be up on that butte either, but it would be something more that would want to look out over that. Here, I'm just going to do the rabbit, though. Okay. Something like that. The bighorn sheep would have been better up there, but it wouldn't have been this like tiny bighorn sheep because I have these the different cacti for reference, all around it there, right there. Okay, let's see. Let's do this range in the background right here. I'm just kind of adding in this range. I would just kind of leave this as is normally, but since this is a stamp sketching video showing the new images, I'm going to fill it in right here. But I'd probably kind of leave this bare. I think this would be a perfect place for like a little quote or something like that in there, but let's use some of these new images for backgrounds like this. Yeah. Oh, Sir Mix-a-Lot was that rapper artist, for that song. The only reason I know that is because it came up on my YouTube feed a couple years ago, where that artist is doing that song with with this like philharmonic, which made for kind of an interesting pairing. Seeing all the full orchestra in the background, strings and cellos. Okay, something like that. And let's go up here again. Sepia tone would be cool. Yeah, sepia toned imagery would be perfect. Is there a pad out there called sepia? Does any stamp ink manufacturer have a sepia? Is it sepia or sepia? I never knew that. Even like art school. I think I've always called it sepia. Whenever I do those types of things like a mountain right here and a mountain right here with a little gap in between, that's where I always kind of position some sort of light source or something like that, a moon or something like that. But that's what I always think about when I do those little gaps in between things like that. I always see it as like a place to, slip in, some sort of light source or something like that. Like it's, like hiding behind a little corner or something like that. All right, so there is that. Let's do a little bit of a textural fill in again. This one would be good too if I just added in a light version of this. Yeah, you can do it with like sepia. That'd be perfect too. But actually, maybe not. Because this already has those kind of wooden textures in there that are already kind of reminiscent of that. I don't know. If this one is a little bit darker, I think it'd be cool on the wood grain paper. I wonder if I've done that before. I've given away a lot of my scenes. I can't remember if I've used the wood sand pattern with this wood grained texture before. I wonder if there would be an opportunity to have something where there's light coming from underneath this little area like that. But anyways, on this one, you barely have to do anything with it. On these types of wood grain papers or these pre-printed like vintage papers, the way that I like finishing these off is just with a little bit of black colored pencil and adding in some additional shadows or something like that. If I add in something white, like a light source, like it's a moon or a sun, that type of thing, then I add in a little bit of highlighting on my imagery in here. But I really like this wood grain paper because it doesn't have, there aren't like super, there's not a lot of contrast in the grain. So you can stamp your imagery right over the top of it where you get the benefit of all that texturing, slight tonal changes, the warmth, the paper, but the background isn't obtrusive where I see this pattern going in here. And I could see it within the designs itself, but it's not really something that's obtrusive, you know what I mean? It blends in with everything just fine, and you're not made really aware of it, that texture is just kind of running right through, the paper, if this wood grain was a lot more distinctive. So it's I don't know, it's really fun stuff to work with. And then you can kind of play around with it too, like this one right here kind of looks like a clouds or something like that, so you can use that as your sky, and you can just put your imagery down below in here and just have that, leave that as is up there. It almost looks like Jupiter too, huh? Okay, so if you've just joined in, we're doing these stamp sketches with the new imagery. A lot of it is the distant butte types of things in here. Let's play around. Let's try some of the flora here. I only have a couple things, I think. It was the agave and the ball cactus. These ones are the golden ball cacti, but one of my favorite plants out there is this red ball cactus, which I see all the time, but it's kind of weird, You go out in these areas out in the desert sometimes, and it's you see like one or two of them around, and it's like the only thing, the only one of them like in this whole area, and sometimes you see them all clustered together, and there's a lot more of them. And you see them high, you see them low. Rubber stamp events. Yeah, that's right, Sharon. Yeah, I think it was, Barb from Rubber Stamp Events. Hello, Chris. January and July at Grapevine. Oh, okay. And you saw you there and took a class at the store in Fort Worth. Chris, what's? Do you remember the? No, you didn't take a class with me at that store in Fort Worth, did you? I'm trying to think. Did I teach a class out there, or is that just it's just someone else teaching? All right, here's the ball cacti right here. Let me go a little bit. Let's go lower with them. Maybe I'll have some of them in front of something and then have some in back of something. Okay, now these ball cacti too. I have a whole cluster of them, but sometimes you just want one. You know what I mean? So you just don't ink up the whole thing again. Or if you want three or one or whatever, just ink up whatever ones you want, and you can add them down. Usually, I don't see, when I'm out kind of hiking around, I usually don't see them in clusters, a huge amount of them, just, because, water, you know, water's scarce out there. So you see them kind of whatever ideally positioned for whatever resources are out in those areas. So I don't know. I mean, it just depends on what it looks like. It doesn't have to be like, oh, that one exists out there in nature or anything like that. But for me, I'll see myself like adding one of these around here or there amongst, a lot of this other types of flora, just for some variation. I mean, these balls like that too, from a shape perspective, they do kind of stand out because you see these circles within our rectangular, formats that we're typically working with, or squares, you know what I mean, hard angles. So you get these rounded shapes like that. Okay, so this is the agave. I go for a couple of these right here. And I don't see these, like I said, these ones being like used like exclusively in areas. I see these like as kind of rounding out the desert flora themes of the other two sets, or one or the other, like that, because they're more like ground cover. There's no kind of height in here with these ones. But like I said, I don't know. I thought it rounded out the system. You notice I didn't do kind of like a what do you call it? Like prickly pear cactus or something like that. I looked out there and there was a lot of prickly pear cacti types of designs out there that looked really good, So I didn't feel the need to do another version of it. Okay, let's see here. We got these ocotillos right here. I'm not really doing any shows, Sharon. Okay, so for us, when I mean us, I was doing shows with Rubber Stamping Depot. He's another fellow manufacturer, and I hadn't been doing shows for a long time, but he had been doing the shows that were within driving distance of us down here in Southern California. He lives about an hour, a little bit more than an hour north of me. And he was going to stop doing shows at one point in time. And I had wondered about doing some shows or how I would do them. So he makes my rubber. So when he told me, I said, well, how'd the show go, And he said, oh, whatever. And then he says he might, that might be his last shows that he does or something like that. So it sounded like it was more kind of like a financial thing. It was just, they're really expensive to do. So I had been wondering about doing some shows for a while because I had been out of it for many, like 8 years without doing a show. So I just said, hey, would you be interested in kind of teaming up? Because I don't need a lot of space, and we do a show together. We can share in the booth expense, and the travel expenses, are a big factor. And since he makes my stamps, I just said, okay, convention coordinators don't want two booths in one, two companies in one booth. You know what I mean? It's like, trying to beat the system or something like that, you know. So I didn't, you know, so when people were buying stamps, like Stampscape stamps, they're just paying him, and he just keeps track of what he sells of mine. And then for me, because I'm ordering stuff from him anyway, he never paid me for those things, but he just issues a credit for whatever sells at the show, okay? Because I order from him anyway. So it worked out really good for him because he sold me the stamps to begin with, and then we do the show, and then he sells it again at retail. And then because he's not having to pay me, he just, you know, gives me credit towards more stamps, you know, that I need to order from him. And then I also got to do the shows too. But so anyways, long story short, that's how I had been doing the shows. And plus I got rid of a lot of my like convention fixtures and things like that. You know, you got to go around with a cash register, and you know, if you're going to take credit cards, you have to have one of those remote systems, you know, to take that, and I don't know, those types of things. I don't know. These days you can hook it up to your phones, I think, or something like that. But sometimes those things didn't work, or you don't have a signal. So you had to go with those other types of credit card machines, which need updating all the time, and you have to buy new ones. So I didn't have to do any of that. So it really worked out for really the both of us working together like that. So here's my little garden like this little ocotillo garden. In the springtime, these little things like these ocotillos are full of green leaves on the sides of their, you know, their structures like that. And then they have this red kind of, it reminds me of like a dragon, these little noses that come off like that. Those are really cool. But see, there's like this is really fun in here with all that kind of texturing in the background. Let's see. But I miss doing the shows a lot. And if it was, I always say this, if they, you know, if there was like a Star Trek transporter, you know, that can get me to these shows, you know, from a logistical standpoint, I would do them. But if I fly anywhere, I'm, you know, my connecting flights are going to get canceled, almost guaranteed. That's what I came to believe. Like I said, it happened like 7 times in a row. Oh, and the worst one was, you know, here I'm doing scenic stamping right here, right? It was when I was going to a scenic stamping retreat in Illinois, and I don't know, there was all kinds of flight delays or cancellations around Chicago, I think it was. So I missed like a whole day. I was flying out there on a Friday, and we were going to start stamping kind of like Friday during the daytime. I think I was like on a 6 a.m. flight out of you know, Southern California, so I can get out there, so get some stamping time in on Friday, and that thing got canceled. And the stupid airline, when I rescheduled and finally found my way, you know, way to get out there on like Friday night late, in rescheduling that Friday night, you know, flight to get out there, they canceled my return flight for some reason. So that was a whole debacle getting back. I can laugh about it now. But in the midst of those things, it's always kind of a big hassle. I thought it was my luck. I thought I just had really bad luck in flying, but later when United Airlines was, all kinds of things were happening with them. They were dragging people off and flights and overscheduled booking. I thought, oh, maybe it was just United, because that's who I flew with all the time. All right, so anyways, I got a little ecosystem here. these ball cactus right here and some ocotillos for our little desert tortoise that comes out. I'll bring this a lot, you know, alive with some like desert blooms in here or something like that when I color this in. But I'm going to leave this open up here. I'll probably do some sort of, this is like, when I leave a lot of space in my sky, I tend to think that it's the perfect spot for like a quote stamp. And that's one of those things that I don't leave a lot of space for a lot of times. Or sometimes it's an afterthought. Like on something like this, you know, there's not a lot of space up here, but I can do like a word stamp or something like that. And not really, yeah, it's not so much of a quote stamp, not my quotes at least, you know, from the scenic sentiment line, but, you know, something like that can go up here. Pretty cool. This one right here I'm kind of envisioning now in like a sunsetty kind of real, like a warm tone scenario, maybe like a transitioning tone. You can almost go over this whole thing with like a brayer and do one of those types of transitioning, like split fountain types of color transitions in there. All right, let me see. Have I tested out all of the different images out of here? I didn't use the gold panner. Except not tonight, but I'm gonna do something right here with this wash here. This Rocky Shore stamp. When I was doing, so when I was playing around with glitters and the crushed glass, those really cool gold crushed glass, I really wanted to have a minor or something like that scenario. So let's see here. Let's do I'll just have a small piece like this, but if I do this like thing like this, and I put that little gold miner or panner like right up here, and I envision like some of this gold added down here, like literally. It makes it, you know, it makes it into a three-dimensional card, but I don't know. Apparently I like bling these days, and all things sparkly, so the foils, the holographics, you know. So I wanted an image, you know, to utilize with those types of things. I mean, I do it anyway with other things, but being that I was working on this desert system, I thought the gold would be cool. Hello, Vintage Scrap Girl. Let me see. What were you referring to there, Bill? Let me see. Bill's old, but not that old. Was it something I said? Ranger has an archival sepia ink pad. Okay, and refill. Is that the Distress ink, Vintage Scrap Girl? With the sepia? Okay, so what class did I teach at a store near the Grapevine show? I can't remember that. Or, are you sure you didn't take the class at the show? For some reason, I seem to recall workshops being taught at that convention center before, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm imagining things. Okay, here, I don't have a wash left and right, but this Rocky Shore thing is so textural, it almost really doesn't even matter. So you just use this backside of it like that, you know, and it creates like the opposite side, you know, in some ways. Sometimes with the Rocky Shore, I can't even tell what's like, when I'm trimming the stamp out, it's like, wait, what way was like up and what way was down on there? what you want from certain types of foundation stamps, because you can use them as they're a little bit more generic, and textural, so they're more, I don't know, malleable in terms of a kind of a foundation piece. Or you can go this way too. You can flip it around, like stamp it out like that, and then flip it around like that too. Now that doesn't exactly match up, but I add in more textures into those things anyway, so in the end it really doesn't matter. Glad you like the desert sets or set, Vintage Scrap Girl. Thanks for ordering. Thanks everyone for whoever Thanks to everyone for supporting the line. If I don't say that enough, I really appreciate it. I love what I do, and it's great to be able to continue to do that, as always. But for me, it's always really important that everyone, that people really, enjoy their purchases and stamps and everything like that, using it. And for those that haven't had a chance to use them yet, I hope you do. And if you have any questions, drop me a note. And I always tell people, especially at the beginning stamper, if you ever have any questions about anything, drop me a note. And or if you ever run into, a lot of times, it's mostly like media surface compatibility issues. Like if I was to stamp on this type of paper, this pre-printed paper that has all these printer inks on it, it's not raw wood that we're stamping on, but sometimes it can resist certain types of, like, say, some of the thicker, kind of more watery dye-based inks out there. I don't know if most of the dye-based ink companies are really good these days, but sometimes, like for me, going with like a thicker ink on there, the hybrid, or I think a VersaFine Clear would work on there pretty well too. There's the gold panner by the way. A thicker ink sometimes is going to, or a more surface-oriented ink is going to work better, stays on, something like that, on these types of pre-printed papers. So sometimes if someone stamps on something like this and then they lift it too fast before the ink has a chance to transfer, and the thicker the ink, the slower the transfer rate's going to be, because it has to get into the kind of past the surface and stain the surface a little bit. So there's little things like that, but that's all those types of things, or just about anything. These types of things are really easily remedied. Okay, now this character right here, you can put them around, like this wash right here. I mean, you can use that with any type of tree. You can use it with pine trees or whatever you want. But, since I'm just doing this here with the stamp sketches here, the desert series, I'm going to use it with some of this. In the deserts, you do see flowing water sometimes. Sometimes it's a treat. Now, the higher elevations, you get it all the time, right? Whatever, it's like 7,000 feet, in the areas that, get a lot of snow and stuff like that. And, I always say, hey, the Grand Canyon, it's got the Colorado River running through there. So, okay, so I'm just using a small portion of this saguaro here. That, just to flank it, and I'll use some smaller ones off here. I don't know if I have room for it right here. Okay, I'll use that right here. One of the things that you do, I think, and it still goes on, I think it's in 4th grade in California, you study like the California Gold Rush. And I've mentioned this before, I think, in another video when I was playing around with that gold, you know, this gold. This is crushed glass right here, but I remember using gold glitter on my report in fourth grade. When I was doing a map or something like that. And I remember, I don't know, I had it a certain way, and then my mom said, "No, you can't. You know, you gotta kind of spruce it up a little bit." And that's when she went and grabbed the glitter. I don't know. I don't think we used glitter on anything up until then. So it's like, oh, okay, is that why we have the glitter? I think I used to look at it all the time though, in our like craft supplies or something like that. You know, back then in the 70s, you know, a lot of times the craft supplies, you know, it was things like you know, like popsicle sticks, you know, that we save, you know, for like craft projects, you know. It was like literally, you know, I mean, it was like real, you know, real popsicle sticks, you know. Everyone saved their popsicle sticks. All right. If you on the background like this. Okay, going back like that. Seems like this one would be perfect for some kind of quote, you know. I don't have like a quote on like, I don't know. What would be a good quote for like a old, you know, miner, gold panner, something about hope. When I look at this, it seems like a lonely type of thing, though. But I'm sure they were always full of hope, though. You know. But I see like a sunset or something like that coming, you know, right through this passageway again. Or some sort of passage of light. Yeah, the sentiments I'm using more and more these days. Vintage Scrap Girl. I really love adding them in. I've always thought that they really kind of, I don't know, they kind of add like an emotional depth, I think, to pieces if there's one that's kind of appropriate. One of the things that I haven't done enough of, though, a lot of times I'll add those types of, you know, quotes in, those sentiments. I need to do more scenes that are kind of inspired by the sentiment, though. I mean, sometimes I do, a little bit more so these days, but, you know, in the past I haven't really been doing that enough. So I'll read some sort of sentiment or quote or something like that, and it's like, okay, I can picture, you know, this whatever, you know, stars or something like that, or, you know, some sort of scenic scenario. Okay, so I can add in other things around that figure, but this figure isn't like a silhouette, okay? So they're a little bit more delicate. I would color them in with, you know, their clothes or something like that, but I'm not going to add in anything too strong in terms of like a strong silhouette of an object, because we want that character to stand out, you know, fairly decently in here, okay? So I might end up adding in something else in there. You know, when I end up coloring it in, it's like, oh, okay, I need like another object or something like that. But you want to keep that your subject matters kind of, if it's their focal point of the scene, you don't want them to be too obscured, okay? Now, if I did add in something like that, it's like, oh my God, I could barely see them. Then what I would do is I would just darken in the areas around it, you know, like that. So they stand out more like they're in the spotlight or something like that too. So there's other things you can do if, you know, something like that happens. Oh my God, I could barely see them now or something like that. I put that object too close. Well, then just kind of spotlight them even more. So I would probably, you know, right now the way I'm thinking of it, I'm going to do both. I'll kind of have them a little bit more. Now see, I'm kind of adding a little bit more tone here around in here, which darkens it a little bit, you know, and it'll bring kind of more of the attention up that way. So The tension's like that way anyway, because this is like a visual lead-in. You see, I didn't close this off with a bunch of like foreground things right here. Although, I don't know, I guess that would still, but you kind of leave a little space for the viewer to enter the scene going right to your subject matter right there. So this is like a little scenario like that. You take that person out of there, if you add anything up there, you know, someone's eye is going to go right to it like that. So it kind of really directs the viewer's eye right to what you want them to look at. Okay, so that being said, let's see. You do this. You can do this gold pattern. You can do it like this vulture kind of circling around in the sky. Here's the snake down here. You know. I'm gonna add this little tarantula here. This tarantula is just kind of minding its own business, kind of walking around. I'm gonna put that down here, but it stands out a little bit, but it won't stand out so much when you color it in. But again, I see this. I want to play around with this type of, you know, gold glass, crushed glass. This crushed glass, by the way, it's like tumbled, so it's not sharp or anything like that. Someone asked me about that. Hey, you know, you're able to handle that okay without, you know, getting cut. When I posted something on one of the groups. But okay, let's see here. I think I've used everything out of the new set. I didn't use the bats. The bats, I'll have flying kind of in front of like a moon or something like that, or a twilight sky. But everything. Oh, here. I want to try everything in here. Let me see. This is the kangaroo. Rat. I wanted to call it a kangaroo mouse. That sounds better, but it's a kangaroo rat. They look more like the size of mice to me, though. Let me see here. Do I have this upside down here? I have it upside down. There we go. Okay, let me see here. And these little desert creatures, you know, I find that these little tiny things like this, when you add it into a scene, they're small enough to where, you know, out in nature, unless they move, you can't really see them, or it's hard to see them unless you got a trained eye and you're walking around. But they kind of just blend in, you know, with these textures in a way. You know what I mean? I mean, if you just kind of glance at it, it could be like a little rock or something like that. So there is that. I didn't use the... Okay, so it looks like apparently I'm not using the ones that I want to use in conjunction with a moon, because there's the howling coyote too, and the bats like that. I see those kind of used with a, you know, nighttime type of scenario. Well, let's take a look here and see what these look like right here. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm thinking about that butte in the background, doing it really light. Yeah, let's do that. Or do I want to do that? Let's go ahead and do it. Something that I just set it. What's the first kind of, you know, instinct is the correct one or whatever. Let's just get a little bit of a background, though, on this one. Okay, I'm going to take off a lot of that ink off the overall impression. Then I'm going to really wipe off this bottom portion. Let's just stamp it right on in the background here, like so. Just to get some of that texturing in the background like that. Yeah, now I need a little bit more out this way. That's what kind of a larger stamp would have taken care of, but like I said in my other videos, I made these background pieces a little bit smaller you know, it just kind of gives people a little bit more bang for their buck in some ways, you know, having more imagery. Um, you know, you know, it's the same cost, you know, in terms of making plates, but in terms of different imagery, I just thought maybe people would want that more right now. Having like three designs that are smaller than one big one, you know. But but having this one big though, that would be pretty good. Especially if you're doing like some larger scenes, like a Facebook group, you know, we started doing like larger scenes over this past what has it been like 2 years or something like that. All right, so let's take a look and see what we have here. Um, you know, in terms of these initial stamp sketches, and when I'm just using these types of things, you know, a lot of times I'm using them in a way that I kind of envision them, and most of the times, most of the applications of the imagery come from everyone else, because you know they use them in the stamps in all kinds of different ways than what I originally thought, or you know how I envision them. So anyways, what do I do? 7 stamp sketches right here using the background types of buttes like this right here. A little bit more layering, like a valley of, you know, I don't know, whatever. This one's not supposed to be Monument Valley, but you know, something like this. I think this worked really good right here on this one. It just kind of filled that in nicely. I don't have room for like a quote anymore, but just these sandstone types of buttes rising from the dunes, sea, or something like that. These dunes are going to be layered more, though. Okay, I'm going to have stuff in between, or like a little character out here walking the sand dunes, like a little focal point, probably like a little moonlit night or something like that. Or you can do Lawrence of Arabia. You have like a tiny little dot in the distance. This right here, we'll get, you know, some additional things in. Oh, this one right here, I was going to fill in here with some different textural forms and things like that leading up to those things, but I want to do this like a Lake Powell type of thing, you know, and make this water right in here. So here this is, you know, representing something fairly large, but you throw that rabbit on top of there and it, you know, it turns, this thing's like now like 2 feet tall or something like that. Okay. So there's that. I love the detail that we were able to get in that there with the engraver did a really good job. My rubber guy with the mold and everything like that. The ball cacti down here. I really like it with these ocotillos here a lot. But just kind of a different form. I don't think there's too many things in the Stampscapes line that are round, besides like moons or something like that, you know, full moons. But in terms of like a terrestrial type of object, I don't know. Can anyone think of? Is there anything round? I don't think there is. You know, so it's like a different shape in here. But I think that I don't know. So my question was, I was kind of curious to see how those would look, you know, in a rectangular, you know, format, you know, with 90-degree angles, you know, on our pieces, you know, from a shape theme perspective. But I don't know. I think they look fine. All right. So, anyways, oh, you asked how I knew that. Well, I know, but yeah, but how many other people in this, you know, chat here know that song though, Bill? You know, unless you were watching like you know, whatever MTV and VH1 back in the day or something like that. I don't like hear that song on like the radio. Yeah, at least I don't know the channels that I was listening to. Let's see here. Is the round cluster of cactus a bear? Yeah, yeah. It's a golden ball cacti cluster there, Verna. I was asking. I don't know. Does anyone know here? Are ball cactus, the same as beryl, or are they, different? Uh, I entered that in, and I entered in like ball cacti, and a lot of barrel cactus came up in my search. But then, these ones are like specifically like they look like little balls, though, so they never get that elongated form, like I guess like a barrel cactus do. So, yeah. Oh, how to use that sand dune drift stamp. It looks tricky. Wait, which one was that, Chris? Is that these ones right here? So these ones you oscillate too. I would lighten that up a little bit, but you stack them like that. Or, you have things in between the drifts like that. So, yeah. The gold is nice for the desert. The gold and the warmer tinges like that? Or are you talking about inks like that, Caroline? Glad you like the lives. The sepia is in Ranger's archival. Oh, not the distress. Okay. I'm glad to hear that Ranger still has the archival line there. They discontinued that whole Adirondack line and stuff like that. Monsoons, we get flash floods that are deadly. Oh, I never saw those monsoons, and I didn't really know about the people. When I started teaching out in Arizona, they were telling me about those monsoons that they got. And I mentioned this in another live stream, but I was out in Mesa teaching at the store at the time called the Pampered Stamper, and they were telling me about the monsoons. And I don't know, people were telling me, I was asking about the weather or something like that, just shooting the breeze before the class started, and they were saying that it's a lot hotter out there because a couple people mentioned that they speculated that with all the golf courses and things like that out there, and bodies of water, that it created like this bubble around the city where they didn't get that monsoons coming through and clearing out the air and cooling things down during the summer times, especially, they said. But I never heard of those haboobs before, you know. And I thought that, I don't know, when I saw one of those for the first time, it was like the only time I've ever seen that is like on the, like the Brendan Fraser mummy movies or something like that, with this evil entity coming in on this, this big gigantic sandstorm. And the vulture. Oh, Bill, you want that guy to die. Things with a funny name. Haboob. Yeah, Haboobs. Yeah, Chris. Yeah. So, yeah, this guy named Ken Pesha was telling me about those Haboobs, but like super. Everyone look up Haboob, You got these, it doesn't even look real. It looks like something out of a movie, you know what I mean? Coming in. But I don't know. He was telling me, did they get him once a year or something like that? Various sizes or something like that. But it's really, really cool. So all kinds of different things going on with the skies out in out in the deserts and things like that. Some of the best twilights and sunsets too. Is a wind which causes a major dust storm. Yeah, Phoenix gets them. So we don't. Oh, you don't get them south of Tucson. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but check out those photographs of them. They're insane. Hello, Ramona. I really enjoyed the Tour de West. Oh. Glad to have you in. Oh, the reflection cards. Yeah. I love those. I love that one, that latest reflection card with the red sunset in it. Do I still have that one? Yeah. Okay, this one I didn't give away quite yet, but here's the gold reflection card here. But look at that, look at this desert scenario here in the reflection card format like that. I really love that look, and this is just gold foil like that down there with 3 impressions in Stays on ink. Oh, I did add some of those little pebbly rocks right up there. But yeah. So I want to do like a really quick version of something like this. So if we just, this is on glossy cardstock with the cloud alto cumulus up there, like a mackerel sky with that same cloud cumulus down below, the same one like right there. But, you know, I mean, this background took a little bit of time because I used, I don't know, like 5 tones of ink or something like that. It was a lot. But I think we can do a really quick version of something like this and just brayer this background on here, going from like yellows to oranges to reds up here. I did that on the stamp board piece recently, you know, just for a really quick, you know, transition up here. I didn't transition this enough. This needs to be more like orange, but I came down here with the red too much because it's just like 2 inches right here. I didn't have a lot of range to work with. But if we did one of these backgrounds like that, I think we can do something like this in like a 15-minute version, you know, and just with those transitioning tones like this, stamping our imagery on top of it in black. Couple impressions right down here on the gold. You don't even have to have these foreground images, but I think these foreground images like this, like these rocks, like right here and here, they create that kind of I don't know, it's not counter movement, but that foreground movement against the reflections down here, which I think it helps to kind of give it a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. But I think we can do like a, oh, I don't know if it'd be like a 20-minute card, but I think we can come up with like a 25-minute card of this piece right here. And this is just gold foil right here. So yeah, we'll try that sometime because I really like the look of that imagery down there. You know, that desert imagery. I think it looks really good. I think again because it's kind of spindly like that too. You know, I love the shapes of the forms of these in here. You know, I like pine trees too and things like that. But there's a little more gesture into these open spaces of desert, you know, flora. You know, just whatever the characteristic of them, you know, for that type of environment. So it looks really good in a, you know, reflective type of element like that because you have the background showing through a little bit more, you know, which would be the light like that. So anyway. All right, so I can't wait to, you know, explore these, and I can't wait to see what everyone comes up with in terms of your own pieces, if you post them or if you share them with others or me or whatever. If you post them in an area that, I don't know, like a blog or something like that, sometimes, I don't know if people can post like links in the chat or something like that, or link it in the description. What would be better is if you link it in the description section underneath these videos, you know, just say, hey, you know, if anyone's interested, whatever, or, you know, whatever, check out my blog, you know, where I've done that, put a link to it in the description sections. And I think it, you know, YouTube allows those links. I put links up all the time, but yeah. Hiking for years in Joshua Tree, and you finally did desert stamps. Yeah, it took me a while. It was one of those things that, you know, where you go out all the time, it's like, okay, these things have to be perfect, you know. Not that I try to make, you know, don't try to make my other images, you know, the same way, but yeah, it took a while for sure, Chris. When would you add glitter? Okay, so Caroline, I would add the glitter towards the end. This isn't glitter right here, but, you know, you would color in your things. I don't know if I have. I think I gave all my pieces away where I used the no, okay, so I still have a couple pieces right here. But see, this is a piece with the desert stuff on the holographic printable vinyl here. Okay, but you see, like down in here, you know, those little, this is the chunky glitter right here. It's holographic chunky glitter. But you add that in towards the end. With the chunky glitter too, you have to, I'm still learning how to use the glitter. I have to do it kind of a little bit more sparse because it tends to cluster up if I leave too big of a, you know, dot of glue and then pour my glitter on there. But, you know, just stuff like that would be really cool. If it's these, this isn't glitter, so this is actually three-dimensional types of crushed glass. And I thought I can get away with it just by like putting, like say I color this in right here, and then I add in, you know, a few drops of glue or something like that. I thought I could just pour this on there and then just tap off the excess, you know, but that it turned out, you know, with the crushed glass, at least the way that I used it, you can't do it that way. So I put a piece of, you know, dot of glue down there, and then I would take my, you know, my gem picker, and I would pick out kind of a, you know, a good shape of this, you know, as maybe something that has a more flat side to it that can rest against that. So I'd have like these little pieces of gold right down in here. So so that, you know, gold pattern, I don't know, he needs to move down this way or something like that, you know, to get into that gold. And then we're also looking into, I say we, you know, Linda, I don't know, is Linda still on here? You know, yeah, that Linda's right there. Yeah, we're talking about, hey, we need some, you know, other types of glitter, you know, that we can use on these scenes. So we're looking for like stuff like it seems like a lot of the glitter out there these days, you know, it's for, a lot of it is holographic, like for crafting. It's probably because all of the stuff's like coming out of the same factory, like in China or something like that. But there's different types of glitter. There's body glitter too. Um, and like I said, see, this one's orange right here, right? But I don't know if you can see it like from my angle. It's like it flashes like greens and stuff like that. So, you know, the holographic ones have like every color of the rainbow in them. You know, the main color is a certain color. But we want some, like these ones are like violet and blue, but it's like a pink, you know, that's the color of this one, which I kind of like, but sometimes I just want that color in there, you know what I mean? So in something like this, if I use like a powdery type of gold glitter, I just want it gold, you know what I mean? I don't want it to flash like green, you know what I mean? And like purple or something like that, you know, because you know, it's not the theme of the, you know, the scene. So, but all of those types of things I would add towards the end, you know, because they're kind of more three-dimensional. So I'd go from flat to thicker, you know, when it's media or something like that. And then when you get into things like gold or crushed glass or something like that, we're talking about actual raised things. So you'd want to probably add that towards the end, unless there's some other types of processes that I'm kind of don't know. Like I said, I haven't been using like glitters and things like that over the years, or things like, you know, three-dimensional things like, you know, like that crushed glass or anything like that. Historically, so if anyone has any tips for me, you know, I am open for, you know, whatever, schooling, you know, you know, bling, definitely want to know more about those types of things and where it would be good. And you know, there's other things like Linda got some of that body glitter, you know, that had that adhesive in there, right? So you can just take it, and you can, I don't know, you add it in there somehow. Like I forgot how you said you added it in there, Linda. You said that you didn't work though. Okay, so do you spray the glitter? Okay, so on some of this right here, this is a holographic vinyl sticker paper. See this right here? This is not going to come off, you know. That's on with, you know, like a drop of the, you know, the Verily Art type of glue. You know, this is not coming off of here. Unless someone rubs it like that, but, you know, you give a card to someone, that you're not going to do that unless you're giving it to, like, you know, like a little kid or something like that. Which in that case, maybe you spray seal it. But like on this one right here, I don't like using spray seal on the vinyl holographic sticker paper, okay? Because everything is that I use on this is really adhered to it. You know, the brilliance inks, the water-based inks, and things like that. And I think that spraying this probably, it could alter the look of this like area in here. Now, if it was something like, you know, let me see, did I do another? I'm trying to think if I've had some other glitter. I did spray seal something. I don't see. I didn't do any. Did I do some on this? Some glitter got on this, but no, I didn't. I didn't spray. Okay, so I didn't. I did some pieces earlier where I put like little gold touches. I don't know where those are though. I may have gave those away already. But if you feel that some of it is, really, it's precarious, and if you put it and you mail it off to someone, it's going to get all over the place. And I have received some cards like that where there was a lot of glitter on it, and you open the card and you're taking it out of the envelope if it's not in one of those clear envelopes, and there's like glitter everywhere. You might want to spray seal that to, as an extra layer to, possibly lock down the glitter that's been added to it. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There was, I don't know. There's like several videos in there where I've done glitter though. Check those out. I got obsessed with it, when I got these ones in because it answered a lot of the reflective types of questions that I had in terms of the possibilities with things like fall foliage. So I used things like this, like a lemon yellow or something like this, on stamping out my aspen trees. I just, I colored them in with yellows or something like that. But then I also added, a few drops of glue, and we added this chunky glitter to it. So that it really kind of sparkle. So it added that extra really reflective element that I've always wanted to get into things like fall foliage, that I think that makes it look really spectacular, especially if you go walking underneath some trees that are in full color, like aspens or any type of, those reddish, the red tone colors like in Maine or something like that. But to me, the thing that occurred to me at one point in time, it felt like I was walking through kind of like living stained glass, where you get that light kind of shining through those leaves. And it was always kind of hard to represent light when we're just working with ink on white paper, and I don't want that sparkle. So something like this kind of was that little extra touch in there. But you can see there's a bunch of green in here and oranges. I guess that'd be fine for aspen trees. And it looked pretty good, but I added that in at the end over those trees, and it really made it look good. I don't know. I probably did it about a month ago, maybe, or something like that. I don't know, maybe like 3 weeks ago when I got like glitter crazy and did like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 videos using that glitter on there. But it really was really fun to do. I did it in the nighttime sky. Okay, so if it's something like this, if we did something like this, and if I made this like an all nighttime type of scene, which maybe that would be really cool. I'd have the tops of these dunes really illuminated in the moonlight or something like that, or starlight or something like that. But you can do this and have like a serpentine type of little arcing kind of application of, I don't know, one of these types of things. Like this one's bluish violet, but can you imagine like these stars like this? You can just do like a few of them, like in this like little Milky Way or something like that. And I think that would be really cool. It might be a little bit too heavy up here with a lot of bling up there and not too much down here. So you might do like some kind of thing where these tones are down here, kind of similar to this type of tone, these bluish tones. And then if you guys know those pens like the like these Wink of Stellas, mine probably don't work anymore. I think this one's silver right here, but you can put a little of that Wink of Stella on the tops of these dunes right here where it's kind of illuminated a little bit, but then you can make them a little bit more iridescent where at certain angles it kind of reflects and sparkles in the light. I think that would look really cool. So it kind of balance out some of the real blingish types of things if you use glitter up in your night skies like that. So unless you just wanted to, you really wanted to contrast it and really bring all the attention up into the sky, with something like that. But if you kind of want a more little slightly balanced surface. You can add some of those, or you can add like, I don't know, I haven't figured out how to use this type of thing too, but there's these glow in the dark powders like this that you can add to the, certain terrain like that. And that might be kind of interesting to do some sort of. I need to do more glow in the dark types of things. It like totally brings the kid out of me or something like that. Thinking about those things, but I haven't figured out the glow in the dark powders yet. I did one piece that I thought looked really cool. When you flip off the lights, it was with the Seaside Cove, and it looked like those bioluminescent types of waters and waves or something like that. But when you do that, you kind of have to make the piece just really for looking at in the dark, because I didn't think like a big slathering of powder over the scene in regular daylight looked very good. It looked like this big slathering layer of white powder built up on these pieces like that. So I think I just need to do like more dedicated nighttime types of projects where you're supposed to look at it in the dark. As I kind of describe these things, I don't know, it does sound silly to me, but I don't know, but that's part of the fun though too, right? Other glitter, okay, body glitter works really well. The eyeshadow body glitter is fabulous. Brown, sand. Okay. Did you post some of that? You got to start posting some of those on maybe in, if you guys ever do these things, where you're doing these types of glittery types of things, and you want to take a photo of it and post it on like Facebook or whatever, social media or whatever. Sometimes it's really hard to get the gist of that, glitter like that. Like if I took a picture of this right here, like as you're looking at it, you'd see like these little tiny, there's like 3 things showing up in this angle. There's a little bit more at that angle, or at some angles you don't see anything like this, right? So what you do is you just have your camera in one hand and shoot it on video instead, and then do this. You see like this right here? And this is with the holographic too, but even if it was just this area down there, and most people, I don't know if you're taking photographs with your phone these days, but they all have video in there too. So if you, I would just post like a little, couple second video of it or something like that, and then it's like, oh, okay, we can really see. If you really want, to showcase those types of reflective elements in your pieces, do a quick video of it too, or do both or something like that and post both of them. You can do the still shot, like maybe it's that angle. But see this angle right here, where you really show all that, that glitter right down there, and it's super reflective. But this looks really bad up here like that, like where it's reflecting my my studio lamps. Like this looks better for the studio lamps, but there's like one thing like shimmering like this. So if you go like this, everyone kind of gets the gist of, what this looks like. See, at my angle right here, from where I'm sitting, this is all kind of illuminated down here, and I get, and I get this color too. But when you're trying to photograph it, it can get a little tricky, if you're not doing it in video form like that. So a little tip like that. Yeah. Yeah. So see, Linda's checking out those other types of glitters. So be open to that type of thing too. Or a lot of the glitters that I look up, they're for like nails, So it's like, oh, is that what that's for? So there's like a gazillion different options out there for those glitters like that. And like I said, a lot of them are like these ones right here. These are chunky holographic, and they're also they call them luminous, because mixed in here with all this glitter are these the glow in the dark. None of the glitter glows, but they put in that little glow in the dark types of punches, and they mix it in here too. So yeah, I want to get to some other types of glitters. So you might have to look into like the body glitters or something like that for our cards. So you have to look outside of sometimes you got to look outside of the whatever the traditional crafting targeted media to get some cool materials to work with, like this right here. I think there are still some wood grain cardstocks out there, but it's a lot more expensive. So I just looked up wood grain cardstock, and I think this came up. So it just happened to be 11 by 17 wood grain disposable placemats. Like, if you have a picnic or something like that, or, people, eating outside, whatever, parties or something like that. So I thought, well, let's give it a try. And it was like super cheap too. So sometimes the things like that are designated for other things, it might not be designated for, the artisans, the crafters or something like that. And it might be something just for the general public that's, like in this case, it was like disposable, or, for the glitters, I guess it's disposable because you just wash it off at the end of the day every day. So we can possibly get some other types of things. Yeah, stickles. Yeah. Where's my stickles? I had a stickles somewhere. I got a couple stickles. So, oh yeah, here we go. So here's the gold one right here. So, or this is like bronze or something like that. Some of my stickles are really, really old, and we just tossed them out. But I think these ones are unopened right here. Actually, I don't know if this one's working. No, this one still looks good. I could still see it move in there like that. I think these are like 20 years old. But yeah, try them out, Try out the stickles, or any type of thing that you have. There's embossing powders. You can use embossing powders too, that are those kind of metallic, were they iridescent or were they glitter embossing? So if you have like some little subtle areas that you want to add that down there, you can use glue, and add that down there. You can just use the embossing powder over that, and then you heat that up. It doesn't have to be some sort of stamped type of application for those embossing powders too. It raise it, but but so are these. These are raised too. So yeah. So, okay, some are a really nice mix of both. Bring in some wood grain placemats. Oh, awesome, Linda. And you can use them for your picnic too. All right, good night, Chris. All right, everyone, thanks for joining in. I'll be getting to work on if people place their orders or whatnot. And we're waiting for this. I'll be getting these out. I'll be getting some orders out tomorrow, and then probably the rest of them on Monday. But I have the orders for this new set number 33 to get out, in addition to some auctions just ended as well. So yeah, but can't wait to see what everyone does with them. And hope you like the stamped sketches right here. I'm really looking forward to seeing some different types of creations with them and usages of them to give me some different ideas on different types of scenarios for all of these too. So that's always like really super exciting to see that type of thing in there. And plus, everyone uses like different types of media or coloring styles and techniques too. So those are always fun to see with some new, some of the new imagery. So yeah, and looking at all these, I can't wait to finish a lot of these off in some upcoming videos right here. We'll finish off these stamp sketches. We'll add in some of that bling too. All right, everyone. Thanks again. Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you in the next live. All right, good night. And if you have any questions, drop me a note in the comment section or drop me an email.